seconds.
Sometimes it feels like we are living in crazy town, and we are going to talk about that tonight. I'm talking about we have, 26-year-old man dressing as a 6-year-old girl. We have Sunni Hostin from The View supporting kids at drag brunches and more. And we're going to talk about it all tonight next. Enemy territory here. Hello, it's Wednesday and it's time for Pop and Politics. We are talking about the latest in hot topics, news, and entertainment. I'm KJ, and let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Tonight we have Shelly E and Yana here with us tonight. Everybody's kind of out. We're coming up on spring breaks and vacations and things like that. So T will be back in about 2 weeks, I believe. But we are here talking with you about the latest in hot topics. Again, as I always say, join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. And don't just comment, subscribe. Subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Also, if you like independent media and want to support what we do, donate. Any amount is appreciated. You can check us out and donate at www.popandpoliticslive.com. Again, you go there for up-to-date information. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, ladies, how are you all doing tonight?
I'm happy it's finally spring.
Yes, me too. We've kind of had a mild winter here in Maryland, so can't really complain too much. But I'm
nope, not at all.
Yeah, bring on the hot weather. 80 and above is good for me. So, all right. So we're going to get right into it tonight, people. As we mentioned, or as I mentioned at the top of the hour, we're talking about crazy town. Sometimes it feels like just everything is topsy-turvy in the world right now, not just in the world, but even in our local communities. And we're going to talk about it. So we're starting out with Dylan Mulvaney. So if you guys have watched us for a while, we've talked about him in previous shows. He is the trans advocate. And this week, last weekend, he set off a firestorm over last weekend after posting a video featuring himself as Eloise. Take a look here.
I am Eloise. I am 6. I'm a city child. I live at the Plaza Hotel, which is huge and wonderful and très elegant, especially at Christmas time.
So that was him. Again, this is the man. He's 26 years old. He's a trans woman. He's a TikTok star, and he has become one of the most prominent and well-known activists thanks to his whole days of girlhood. Now, again, he's 26-year-old, adult, but he's called this series Girlhood, which basically documented him during his transition experience. So again, this newest video shows him dressed in a white button-down shirt, black skirt, and black suspenders, and he's the children's book Eloise. So, I mean, guys, what do you think? I want to start off with you, Shelly, tonight. Is this normal?
No, it's and the thing is that yes, we have people who do acting and you can act out children's books and things like that, all for fun, right? But first of all, he says he's a girl, which he is not, number one. But this is carte blanche example of mental illness being caricatured and made to look normal. And it's not. It is not. This is mental illness that needs to be treated. And it's a shame because the media, the public, a lot of women apparently are giving him the stage and the go ahead to say, oh, this is okay. And like Drew Barrymore, and she's the biggest complainer or harder on herself. This is bull. This is nothing but mental illness, and it needs to be treated, not made fun of in this way.
Yes, I mean, Yana, I just, it's like if something like this would have appeared just 5-10 years ago, people would have thought this guy was crazy. But now we're supposed to make this is supposed to be normal. This is supposed to be part of our life, and nobody's supposed to where he's praised. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's being pushed on us, obviously. I mean, I'm hoping that normal people do find this really disturbing. And I think it's the minority that are supporting this. I hope. I mean, if you take the entire country, I mean, I'm hoping that if you show this to every person, I think the majority of people will find this disturbing.
Well, I
And
mean, but let's take what you say. I mean, even if we go along and say what you're saying is true, the majority of people find this cringy.
Mhm.
We had he went to the White House. He sat with Biden
Because
on
we have ruling elite. The ruling elite is just a few people trying to control millions of people who do not. I do not believe that millions of people in America support this and find this normal. Like, no, it's impossible.
I do. I believe
Well,
it. I believe that they do. And let me tell you why. Granted,
they're
now
complacent. That's one. That's
yeah,
it.
well, that's part of it. You're right. But granted, I know our media largely silences, people, sane people who push back against the narrative. I get that. But I do believe that even in our complacency, those of us who are complacent, when you don't speak up, when you don't push back, it does give a signal that you might support it for whatever reason. So the outcome is the same. You may not.
The outcome is the
Yeah.
same, yes. So, but I think because it's like a ruling elite telling people what we're supposed to be supporting, people are complacent, maybe just lazy. They want to look the other way, or they're literally scared. Because if you do speak up, then things will happen to you. And it has happened to people who did speak up against this. Your job can be threatened, your life might be threatened. That has happened.
But
So
look what they're doing though. I mean, I don't see how people can't speak up when we're seeing this. It's cringy. It's disturbing.
it's kink. Like what he's showing, it's kink, it's
I mean, they're
pedophilia. Like
pushing
I can just see,
children.
like when I see this, I'm like, I see this is like really disturbing because it's like he's imitating a little girl. So it's like very pedophilic. It's a man like dressed in a girl, like pretending to be a little girl. Like it's really, really disturbing.
It
Like
is
you want to
disturbing.
keep that person away from children.
Yeah. What I find fascinating about this, and again, I'm borrowing this from Dennis Prager. He has been saying for at least maybe within the last year that largely in this day and age right now, surprisingly, it's a lot of women who are harming the young people. But on the other hand, it's a lot of women, at least more so than the men, who are speaking out. Where are the men? Like, where are the men that need to come out on the front lines, if you will, and help those of us who are speaking out? We need you. We need that because foolishness like this gets to proliferate, and then we don't have the pushback that we need. So we got women harming young people on one hand, and we got women trying to fight the battles that are, and so where are the men? Where are the men?
But I mean,
That's a good
you
question.
guys said that it's cringy and that he's, it's almost looks like pedophilia because he's dressed like a 6-year-old girl. But then you have Kamala Harris who wrote him a letter just this week. I quote her. She says, "You continue to break barriers and inspire young people across our nation and around the world." This is what she said to him. We see this as cringy, as disturbing. This man looks like he's got a mental illness. He's calling himself a girl. He's dressed up like Eloise. He's all this kind of crazy stuff, and she's congratulating him and saying he's a role model for kids.
Well, because whatever, like I don't, these people, it seems like it's some sort of cult. like
Right.
honestly. And when you have someone like a person who is in so much power, like Kamala Harris, promoting this and saying that's what we need, it's like she's promoting a certain ideology, a certain cult. And it does make me think of Marxism as usual. So, for example, when Russia had a Marxist revolution, they decriminalized, anything that's related to homosexuality, because that is actually part, uh, you know, promoting homosexuality, promoting these like loose relationships between genders is part of Marxism. So it is part of ideology. This is not something that is happening organically. I believe
Right.
that this is something that's being pushed based on a certain idea.
Right. Well, with Kamala Harris, I would say that first, number one, consider the source, because she's cringy herself, number one. Number two, again, back to the point, you have women. She's a woman supporting this foolishness, continuing what I'm going to call continuing to harm this Dylan character, because he really needs help. But you had this woman in her emotions, co-signing his mental illness and calling it normal. And so he gets to parade around as if he's the normal one. And women like us who are saying, no, wait a minute, something's wrong here. We're made to look like, oh, we're not compassionate, and we don't have a heart, and we just don't understand. This is bull. This Dylan character needs help. And so does Kamala Harris. She needs help.
Yeah, and again, where are the mothers? Where are the mothers? He did a whole 365 days of him in girlhood, 26-year-old man in girlhood. This is what he did. And I don't see the outcry that I think we should see.
And it's everywhere. The thing, I go to local libraries, and there's all this transgender ideology, like placed very strategically right where everybody walks in. So and there are mothers with children in the children's section, like where everybody's walking in. So I don't know. It's people are lazy.
And he's making money. I think he's a millionaire now. He's got.
So I don't feel bad for him at all.
No, he's gotten ads for KitchenAid. He's doing ads for makeup, for hair accessories. For clothing. This man is cleaning up now.
And he's keeping his penis. So
right?
He's very strategic about this. He was always, feminine. He was always an actor. So what's the big deal?
Yeah.
He's going to change. He did a little bit of surgery up here, but he's not going to do anything down there.
And what's interesting, these ads and promotions that he's getting, interestingly enough, radical feminists used to badger women who wanted to present themselves with makeup and who bought kitchen utensils because they wanted to prepare meals for their husbands and their family. Oh, no, you couldn't do that. That's being a slave to your man. And, you need to do better than that. But this crazy person gets the ads pretending, or because he says he's a woman after a year, he gets the ads and he's lauded. How upside down and twisted is that?
Well, speaking of that, that brings us to our next subject, which is feminism. And specifically, we're going across the pond to the UK, and we do have someone who is very vocal about this. This is Kelly J. Keane Minshall, aka Posey Parker, that's her name, is an activist for sex-based rights. She is the founder of Standing for Women. It's a global women's rights campaign group, and the creator of the action Women Stand Up. She is a woman, a mother of four, a free speech advocate, and a feminist, she says, in that order. So I want you to take a look at this clip she did. She was being interviewed about her stance on women and the idea of men taking over female spaces.
I've noticed over the last few years we seem to be losing the word woman. So we might be called cervix havers or menstruators. Well, in cervical cancer campaign material, the word woman doesn't appear. Menstruators, chest feeders, pregnant people. And I just thought the essence of this debate and what we're losing is literally the word woman to mean adult human female.
But people seem to be embracing the word woman as well. You're saying that it's disappearing. I think that that's not entirely the case. I think women are being very much embraced at the moment as well. We're very much in the news. Women are taking over very high positions of power. Do you not agree that that females are being celebrated?
Well, you say female and woman interchangeably, and I would agree with you, but that isn't what's happening in the public sphere. So we had Philip Bunce just winning a woman sort of entrepreneur award or business award, and he just wears a dress one day a week. So it's being diluted.
So how do you define
Look, wait a minute. As a man on the outside here, right, this just makes me feel that you're making the word female more exclusive than inclusive. You're claiming it back. You're fighting for it back,
Absolutely.
right? Right, you think it's been diluted. Let me ask you, beside you, India Willoughby, she transitioned from a male to female, what, 3 years ago now?
3 years ago.
Yeah. Why does she threaten you?
I think when you decide that men can come into women's space, it's no longer a women's space.
But she sees herself as a woman. You in every way, and they explained to me how you react to that assertion.
Well, I just want to ask you, Kelly, what would make you happy? Would you want to shave my head? Would you make me want to wear boys' clothes? Take my driving licence away and change it back to a male driving licence?
Absolutely not. You can do anything you want, just you not be recognised as a woman in law.
But Kelly J,
I am
Kelly J,
recognised
if she
as a
sees
woman
herself
in
as a
law.
woman, do you have any sympathy that you're looking at a woman who was trapped in a man's body?
No, unfortunately, I really don't think you can change sex in any meaningful way. Every cell in the human body has got the DNA code of what sex you are. So India obviously looks like a woman, but I don't see India as a woman.
Right.
So I want to just say I love her. I love this woman. And it was only two women on that at that table. And the one who was speaking mostly in that clip is the one I'm talking about. And that was Kelly J. Keene Minshall. So I want to start with you, Shelley, on this. You saw the other woman, the interviewer, pushing back against Kelly J. Keene, basically saying, why don't you have sympathy for this trans woman here? What are your thoughts on her perspective? Because this is what we were just talking about. She's one of the women we talk about that advocate for people like Dylan Mulvaney and things like that.
Yeah. Again, you have women who she's going to play on the emotions of Kelly Jean, I forget her name, of Kelly. And it's not true. That guy that's sitting there next to Kelly is a man. It's not a woman. And it's not about threatening anyone. He doesn't threaten me, or he wouldn't threaten me. But you're not a woman. You are a man. You are a man. And Kelly made a good point about every cell in our bodies is coded with our sex, our biological DNA. So now the medical institutions, at least in America, are starting to even tell incoming medical students that they not to call sex female and male. Medical people are being told this. So it's not just crazy, it is warped. It is demonic. It really is demonic.
Yeah, and you saw the gentleman on the table. Oh, I think we're having some communication errors there. But yeah, you saw the guy at the table, the guy interviewer, who makes I think that was that was a really stupid comment he made about, so you believe females are exclusive than inclusive. That's what he said. And I want to get your thoughts on his position, Yana, the gentleman interviewer that was speaking to Kelly J. Keene.
Yeah, I noticed that he was all like, as a man, like he started off like that. And don't you think that this is a woman trapped in a man's body? I mean, it seems like maybe he knows how that feels. Maybe he goes home and puts on pantyhose, it seems like. Well, yeah, that whole interview was there were so many things wrong with it. They ganged up on this lady. They had 3 people against 1. They didn't even have anyone seeing her point of view. And we have a woman who is trying to defend other women. and they're ganging up on her and pushing on her that she's not understanding, and then they're putting this transgender person next to her that is as an example, and it's like this person who's sitting next to her does not represent every transgender person. So it's like there's yeah, this one kind of looks like a woman, I mean, still sounds like a man, but there are others who like totally are like men and have penises, and she has brought it up. There are women being raped in prisons, or in other places, wherever, you know, these men are being entered. And no, she has to have the compassion, she needs to understand. And there's this man who's like, well, I believe that I'm a woman, so you have to. And I like how,
You see how
Right.
superficial
yeah,
he was, or he was, or whatever you want to call him. You know, I look like a woman. What do you want me to do? Shave my head? And I'm thinking, like, you don't even know what a woman is.
yeah. And actually I watched that interview, the whole interview, and she did ask him, so what is it being a woman? Like, what does it mean to
Well,
be a
that's what
woman?
we have next. I want to play
But
the
wait a
next
minute,
one.
before we go there, I want to make this point. I'm beginning to think that this idea of men saying that they're women, and then you have other men co-signing and agreeing it. I really think this is a way for men to justify beating women's asses. And saying, I think this is a new way that they can get away with beating
and
women's
getting
asses.
ahead. Yeah, and
Yeah,
getting ahead.
and they won't be blamed for it. They won't be blamed as a man. I really think that now. In some ways, I think this is what they're going to start doing. I'm a woman and I beat your ass, even though I got a penis. It doesn't matter. I'm a woman. I think this is a way that's going to justify men beating women's asses.
Maybe. I mean, I definitely. You know, when in my experience, when dealing with some men, some gay men, they are if you get into a confrontation or something, you know, some men will, you know, have a little bit more restraint and not get physical. But you know, it's been a long time. When I used to come up, you don't mess with these gays.
These people hate women. They hate
I
women.
mean, they will mess you up.
Yeah.
Especially the feminine ones. So now we have them, you know, going through these sex changes and things like this. And like you said, I mean, if you get into a confrontation with one of these people and they come at you, you really are out of luck, because
I mean, I don't know if you've seen Ben Shapiro had a little confrontation with a transgender woman, and this woman has said, it was like leaned and said, you know, you don't want to say what you said, like, you know, let's go outside, you know, let's handle this. Like, he was about to strangle Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. I mean, I personally experienced that back in the day. You know, I'll never forget. I don't know if I've shared this with you all. I was at what was it? It was either King's Dominion or Busch Gardens, and I was either in high school or college, and we were with me and a bunch of my family. We wait to get on a roller coaster, and this was many years ago, many years ago, and there was a bunch of it was some guys that were dressed like women, and then I think it was just some gay guys, and they were like a couple stalls up, and so I, you know, whispered to one of my family members. I'm like, look at that, you know, and I can't remember what I said, but they heard me, and they went off. I'll never forget. I mean, they were screaming like, "What the fuck she mean?" You know, and getting real agitated and just real crazy like. And I was like, "Oh," and so, and it was so crazy that when my family that was with me, we were looking and they were like, "Wonder who they're talking about." I was like, "They're talking about me." I never forget it. I know. I was so, and then the roller coaster came and we got on, and then that was it. But man, don't play with no feminine men.
They'll scratch you up.
Yeah, they will. You know, so but take a look at this next clip with Kelly J. Key.
If I was arrested today by a police officer who still had a penis but said he was a woman, he's allowed to intimately search me. Now, the reason he's allowed to intimately search me is because a transgender police officer who said he was a woman took the police to court to have that right because he said it was discriminatory
But if
for
he
him not to
believes,
be able
if he
to.
believes he's a woman, you're saying that doesn't make him a woman.
That's saying I have to indulge in that belief also, and I don't.
But when you're sitting with someone like India, who has from a very young age said, just felt very wrong as a boy, has lived as a woman for many years.
What does that mean?
Had the full transgender reassignment surgery. I mean, there's a lot goes into this. That is not just done on a whim.
Yeah.
And you're now saying that she can't be a woman.
What does living as a woman actually
ask
mean?
her.
What does living as a woman mean?
Ask me. I think that's a really good question. Well, you know, I have something called gender dysphoria. It's a recognised medical condition the world over for 50 years or so. And the treatment for somebody like me who felt gender dysphoria is the only way I can feel normal, if you like, is by transitioning. And I've transitioned and life is great. You know, I have no problems. I pay my taxes.
Okay,
I have
what
a
does living
responsible
as a woman mean?
job. I'm living as me. I'm living as me.
Yeah, but what does living as a
I don't
woman
know.
mean? We need
What
to
does it
define
mean
these
to you?
terms.
What does it mean to
Well, it
Ruth?
means that I have a
What
female
does it
body, and in the society in which I live, there is a two-way street. The way I feel about myself and the way that society views me. And unfortunately, no matter how I feel about myself, I can't enforce a society to indulge in my delusion.
Okay. Can I ask
But
one
you're saying that she's
polite
deluded
question?
to
I'm saying
want
that
to be
India
a
isn't
woman.
a woman.
She is deluded. She literally
She even
mentioned that
said,
she has gender dysphoria. She has a mental condition.
Exactly.
Delusional. I don't
that
know.
man, I'm sorry, that man creeps me out. Like the way that he was sitting and he was all like leaning away from this lady who was talking, and he really creeps me out. Like I feel like he wants to like kill her. Like he looks angry. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. It's like
I want to add something too to the men who hate the women and they want to beat their tails. I think there's some women who hate themselves as biological women. And so I don't know why it's twisted. Again, it's twisted, but they hate themselves and they're admiring these men performing and acting like women. For some reason, they want to live vicariously through them. The whole freaking thing is twisted. It's
No,
warped.
I disagree with you there. I think it's women that hate men.
Maybe.
It's women that don't like men. And when I say men, I think everything that has to go into men, masculinity, men being bigger, larger, just everything that comes with a man, even the penis. These women, they don't like it. And so when they see the idea of this phenomenon that we have where these men are transitioning into women, they love it. They love it. They like it because it slowly scratches away at the idea of a masculine man. I think that's what it is, and that's why we have such these allies, these women that continue to support and advocate for this. That the delusion. The transgender woman said that it's a medical condition. We don't have it. You have it. Why do I have to go on with your delusion?
Yeah, yeah, and it's talking about medical conditions. One of the principles or trainings in the medical field is that when someone is actively deluded and hallucinating, maybe anxiety, you don't join in with them. Okay, you try to redirect them, get them back into the reality of whatever is going on, bring them back to the present. You don't go into that delusion with them.
Though, because there is one situation where we are told to go along with the delusion, and that's with Alzheimer's.
Right.
So when you think about Alzheimer's, you are told not to be combative.
Also, when the person is violent, when the mental patient is violent, you go.
One of the things with Alzheimer's patients is that we already know they're not going to be brought back to reality. Their memory is literally gone, most of their memory. So and like you said, the violence is one thing, but with an Alzheimer's patient, you're not going to bring them back to, oh, this is reality right now. So they are living in their, most likely in their long-term memories. Those memories are real. Right. That's just that's the only part of their memory that they still have.
Yeah. And also, I mean, mental patients who are really, I mean, also maybe the ones that we don't think that we can help. So just to keep them calm, we just say, yes, okay, you are Napoleon, or yes, you are Alexander the Great. That it's the same delusion. We put people into a mental institution when they think that they are someone else, like some historical figure. And then we have men who say that they're women and they're,
they're
joining
lifted up as kings and queens. We just had someone join us. Hi, Ian. How are you? Thanks for joining us again tonight. Definitely share this broadcast with your friends, with your social media. Send it in a messenger. Definitely want to get this out and definitely grow our audience. Thank you for joining us tonight. So yeah, we're talking about this. And guys, continue to comment because I want to hear your views, even if you do have an opposing view. Let's say you don't agree. Let's say you are someone that is an ally to the trans movement and trans rights campaign. You adore Dylan Mulvaney and him dressing as Eloise, the beloved 6-year-old girl who lived in the Waldorf Hotel. Comment and let us know what your thoughts are because we'd love to have you join. We'll respond throughout the broadcast. But one thing I wanted to mention, what you said, Shelley, the idea of Alzheimer's patients, and we do understand that this is something that they're not coming back from. So as they lose this short-term memory, that's why we're told to go ahead and support it and go along with it. But one could argue that that's what the trans community is saying. They're not going back to, at least adults. They're seeing a lot of women, youth detransition, but they're not going back to their biological sex.
But also remember that Alzheimer's patients are not asking us in our right minds to join in with them. They just can't help themselves. Those memories that they have are actual events in their lives that they experience, Alzheimer's patients. And they're not asking us to join in with their quote unquote delusion or whatever it may be. These trans people are, and we're being called transphobic and all other kinds of names because we don't join in with them. We say, and we all say, no, I am a woman. I'm not even going to, I'm going to try to stop saying biological woman. I'm a woman. I'm a woman and you are a man. Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to keep putting adjectives on it. I'm a woman and I'm not co-signing that. You are a man. Now, if you want me to call you Joan or whatever, okay, fine. But you're not going to change my mind to make me feel bad or guilty because I say that you are a man and that's what you are.
Because what they want is simply not even safe for women. So it's not like they just saying, oh, call me these names and this is who I am. No, like they're changing everything. They are putting men together with women. They're entering showers, locker rooms. It's not that innocent what they're doing. So no, we can't go along with it. It's simply not safe.
Yeah. Yeah, like she mentioned, that they're codifying it in law. And again, it's creating all kinds of issues that we haven't even begun to see. So we'll continue to follow this story. We're still on the topic of women. This is actually Women's History Month, believe it or not. In USA Today, I don't know if you guys saw this, but they coined some trans man as woman, gave them some woman award or something. But keeping in line of women, I want to talk to you guys about international women. What do you all think of men that date international women or women from other countries? There is a TikTok that's going around. It's becoming viral. Take a look at what people feel about this.
There are actually women who are now calling men predators if they want to date a woman from a different country.
In other cultures, a lot of women are more submissive.
Yeah, they're pervy.
Men are traveling overseas to countries that have less money and less education. It's because they want a woman who is dependent on
foreign girls because you can't handle women. That's why.
And this whole thing is so offensive and ignorant because basically what they're saying is that if a woman is not from the US and she's not woke, then she is uneducated, she doesn't have opinions of her own, and she can't be outspoken. And that's why men go for her. So the Western women think they are superior because they are empowered and awake, right? It's the women from other countries who are educated and can be just as outspoken and have opinions and actually can still look normal, which a lot of people here in the US seem to struggle with.
All right. So, want to get you guys' thoughts on that. Start off with you, Yana, because you're an international woman. How does that make you feel? Is that true that other women feel? Well, we saw. How does it make you feel about what they said about foreign women?
Well, it's funny because the same women will scream racism or bigotry if somebody disagrees with their lifestyle or their points of view. But what they're saying actually is you can be. I mean, it is extremely bigoted. It could be qualified as racist that they're talking about other women who are maybe possibly, I don't know who they're imagining what they look like, but somehow because they're foreign, they are uneducated and they are ignorant and I don't know, can't speak up for themselves. So they are assuming all these things about women who are foreign, and that is so wrong. I mean, they don't see this is so bigoted to even say that.
But what about what we've talked about this on the show in the past? How there is kind of like this movement of men who are seeking American men who are seeking foreign women because they are more traditional.
Yeah.
They do have a more traditional idea of gender roles, and they aren't, have a pushback against you being submissive and things like that. We have heard that. What are your thoughts?
I'll tell you why else I think they're going to look for foreign women. Because most of the foreign women, they are women. An American man doesn't have to worry about meeting up with a woman and then, surprise, I got a dick as long as yours. So they're just women and they're okay with being a woman. And the American men don't have to worry about that. So that's why they're doing it. Over in Eastern Europe, the women over there are not dealing with this trans crap that we're dealing with. They're women. They enjoy being women. They want to be wives and mothers and sisters. They don't want to be trans, whatever. They just want to be women. And so the American men want to marry women. They do not want to have a holy surprise.
I have to say that, let's say for Eastern European women, they're happy with this because, I mean, I have to be balanced. I need to say that men have done some bad things to women, and Eastern European and Eastern women in general, they have experience with men who do not appreciate them. So I need to say, when I watch things from that's coming out of Russia or from Eastern Europe in general, women are saying that over there a woman has to be feminine, needs to be patient, needs to be beautiful, needs to be educated, well spoken, with a high degree. All of these things in order to be valued by the men over there. I have to say to the men, who are saying that men are perfect. No, they aren't. So, but what's happening? It's like a reverse. So over here we have women who do not appreciate the men. So these men are going to Eastern Europe, where the men a lot of times do not appreciate the women.
Yeah, I mean, my husband is not from America, and he says the same thing about our son. We've had this conversation. He was like, he wants our son to hopefully marry a woman that is not non-American. He does not.
A woman is not a man.
Not just that, but just the idea. We find like a lot of American women, they do have this idea about them that they're not very family oriented, not very well rounded sometimes. And sometimes you do find with these foreign women, that they are. Again, they have a lot of more traditional values. They understand gender roles, not so much the whole idea of them being men, but they embrace their femininity, and it's not all about independent woman.
And they appreciate what men have to offer. Because, I mean, we have to understand we cannot and we do not want to do everything. We've talked about it on other shows. I mean, it's very difficult to try to do things all on your own. And then what about, things are like physically difficult? Like you need a man for that. So it's women are brought up in those countries to appreciate that and not to resent that. Quite the opposite.
And I would add, I don't know the stats on this, but many of those women and foreign women, they come from families already where they had a father. So they probably have had a father or a father figure that was teaching them, guiding them, pouring into them, training them how to, when you grow up, this is the path you want to take, or, this is how it looks, if you will. So they had some role models here in America with our, at least in the Black community, 70+% fatherless homes. A lot of the women do not have that.
Well, they also grew up with mothers and grandmothers who they watched how they treat the men. So if there is a man in the family, the women there, they do tend to have like a special attention towards the man, especially, I mean, of course, if he's working, he's providing, you're really appreciative of that. You give him, the first plate, and you greet him, when you're happy, when he gets home, and all these things, you appreciate that he is there for you. And so they watch the other women behave that way, and they just automatically learn to behave that way.
Well, let me ask you this, though. So when you hear this, these men that are going and searching for women, non-American women, does American woman mean white or Black? Or does it mean a woman of color, do you think? Or that doesn't matter, it just means someone outside?
I think it doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of times we are seeing that they're not necessarily talking about, from someone from Eastern European, or, it could be someone from the Caribbean.
From like Pakistan or India or something.
Yeah, Brazil, anywhere. We're seeing that, a lot of guys are going out internationally looking for these international women because of what they bring to the table.
And I have to say, these women are highly educated. I mean,
they are.
A lot of
women workers too.
Yeah.
It's not about sitting around. It's a different mindset, because here we have this mindset of independent woman,
right?
And I don't need a man. But you find, with the international femininity or female, they're more so like, it's not about being independent. They're hardworking, but they want to work with their husband, or
And on the, I would say not so much the flip side, but one of the things also is that what a lot of women, at least American women, no longer, we used to understand this, that your average guy wants to take care of a family, because that is one of the primary ways that he defines himself, being able to protect and provide. That identity is important to him. A lot of American women in particular, we seem to have forgotten that, or don't know it now.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, with that, speaking of an American loudmouth, nasty woman, we're going to move to Sunni Hostin. So, not just her, the whole View. The View would be, the women on that show would be ideally what you would push to men to make them flee to international women. They epitomize what men in America do not want. So, speaking, and one in particular is Sunni Hostin. So, you remember when the View co-host referred, we talked about this on the show. She referred to white suburban women that vote Republican as cockroaches. She also said Black Republican is an oxymoron. And now she opines some more about what it means to be a conservative and a champion of freedom. Take a look here.
What's fascinating here is to allude to Sarah's point is conservatism was always about limited government. Conservatism was always about more freedom. And so if you are taking freedom away from women to purchase an abortion pill, that's less freedom. If you are taking away from parents the freedom to take their kids to a drag brunch if they want to, that's less freedom. So all of this flies in the face of what a DeSantis or the Republican Party generally would believe in. I think what they're looking for is the hubris that we saw in this conservative Supreme Court.
So, lot to unpack there. So, specifically, she's talking about two things. She's talking about, as we've seen all over the country, they are now selling these abortion pills in pharmacies where you can go right in over the counter and purchase them and take this pill and cancel a pregnancy. Also, she's also talking about in Florida, recently Governor DeSantis has, I believe he's making it illegal for venues to hold drag brunches where children are in the presence. And so actually this came into action where he took a restaurant's liquor license because they were holding a drag brunch and they had children at the drag brunch. So I want to start with you, Shelley, on this, because we know you're the patriot of us all on the show. Does she have a point? Is this idea of these types of policies limiting freedom?
Yeah. What she's doing is what the left does well. She's being very deceptive and she's being slick with the wording and then juxtaposing it, if you will, against these concepts. What she also misses, and she does it on purpose, is that conservatives are generally, they want freedom and they want limited government, but they also have a hierarchy that children and family are right under that principle of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. See, the life comes before the liberty. You have to be alive to attain and strive for the liberty. So if the children are dead or whomever is not alive, they can't get the freedom. So she again, she's doing this on purpose. So conservatives have always been focused on children, protecting children, because they are the innocent among us. That is a conservative principle as well. So again, Sunni Hostin, or however you pronounce her name, she knows what she's doing. She's being slick, and it's not the arrogance of the Republican Party. It's her arrogance and her party's hubris that's always at the fore.
Yeah. So I want to get your thoughts on this, Yana. I mean, is this like a manipulation, or does she have a point? Specifically to the idea of Governor DeSantis, saying that if you have a drag brunch where children are in the presence, he's taking your liquor license in Florida. What are your thoughts on what she said in that type of policy?
She's conflating a lot of ideas. So she's saying free conservatism, and then she says freedom. Okay, so but first of all, conservatives, yes, we believe in freedom. Freedom of state freedom. So states have a right to decide how to run their business within the state. That's the freedom. We have the freedom to vote our representatives, and our representatives will decide on how, what we do within our state. The government, the federal government cannot come in and dictate their laws everywhere. So that is the freedom. What she's referring is not freedom, is being libertine. It's different from necessarily from freedom the way conservatives see it. Being libertine is just not having any restraint whatsoever, and just going into this life of debauchery and complete what do you like? I mean, I'm trying to think of like other ways to explain what that means, but what that means is allowing children inside places where they're really sexualizing children. So the next thing what she's going to say, logically, is that you can have sexual relations with children because, well, why limit freedom, right? Like, I mean, so that's the next step. So it's really scary, that somebody would be promoting a lifestyle like this
Yeah.
everywhere.
I mean, and you hear, I mean, I'm surprised that she even has a comment on the way someone runs, you know, a government official putting down a policy on a business, on a private business, because she didn't have a problem with the president and governors all across the country closing down businesses during the pandemic. She didn't have you know how many businesses have closed right now? Just here in Maryland, when I go through and see business after business has closed because they couldn't make any money during the pandemic because they were forced closed by government officials. She didn't comment about that.
Right. I would love to, number one, there are laws all across the country that you can't take children, underage children, into certain venues. So that's already established. But I would love to have been able to ask Sunni Hostin, if you are so big on freedom, how about I bring my guns in here, lock, stock, and barrel? That's my freedom. How about that? Would that be okay with you? And I bet you that wench would come up with a whole different set of criteria of what she calls freedom versus regulation. They wouldn't regulate that. They want to pick and choose which parts of the Constitution they want to uphold and then limit others. But when conservatives say, no, we want to protect children, and these are our rights, because there's nowhere in the Constitution that says abortions are guaranteed. But it does say in our declaration, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, exactly. So I think she's manipulative, she's nasty, and she's counting on people to be uneducated. That's what she's counting on. And sadly, we do have an uneducated public. So, you know, this is where I want to get, you know, we need to be pushed back against her nonsense, because that's what they spew on this show. I don't even understand how it's still on air. But that's why you have us to watch Poppin' Politics every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. This is us here right on YouTube. So check us out here. We're here. Share this broadcast. Like, share, and subscribe. Don't just watch the video and not subscribe. We need the subscriptions, because that's what raises our voice and gets our opinions and our news out there. So if you believe in independent media, share this broadcast and subscribe. All right, so we are moving right along to Robin DiAngelo. So she was a big person on the left, you know, talking about, and she's been in the news recently. But before I get to her, I want to talk about, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about comments made by Dilbert comic strip creator Scott Adams. It was a big show. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. I think it was like 2 weeks ago or so. He's on our thumbnail on YouTube. But we got a ton of views, ton of comments on that, ton of controversy on our show about Scott Adams. So as you know, in the February 22nd episode of his YouTube show, Adams described people who are Black as members of a hate group from which white people should, and I quote, get away. Various media publishers across the U.S. denounced the comments as racist, hateful, and discriminatory, while saying they would no longer provide a platform for his work. He experienced probably the biggest repercussion of his recent comments about race when distributor Andrews McMeel Universal announced it would no longer work with him. So, he's lost jobs, canceled everywhere. Now, bring about Robin DiAngelo. So she is the once obscure American academic. She's rocketed to fame in recent years after coining the term and book white fragility. So this is she did in 2011. So she comes out with this video. Take a look at this, what she said.
And then I'm a big believer in affinity space and affinity work. And I think people of color need to get away from white people and have some community with each other. And I'll let that go and maybe see if anyone else wants to pick it up.
So here again, we talked about this, last week, another white liberal telling Black people what they need to do. With Bryan Cranston, we talked about him. He telling white people, Black people that black people are offended by MAGA hats, and this is why we're offended, and this is it. Now her saying black people need to get away from white people. But what's the difference between what she said and what Scott Adams said? Shelly, what are your thoughts here?
Not a darn bit of difference. It's just that she's telling black people to do it. He said for white people to do it. And again, he was referring to a survey of a certain type of person, black person, that said they hated white people for whatever reason. This wench here, again, she's positioning herself as if she's giving, like you said, permission for black people to make their own decisions and associate with whomever. And what is this idea of an affinity group? How about they just call associations, hobby groups, or we have the same interests in sports or basketball, whatever it may be. But this idea, again, black people need to have the approval and the permission of this white person, this white woman saying, go and do what you want to do. And it's okay now. It's sickening. It is sickening. Robin DiAngelo, you can go maybe, I don't know. Never mind. I won't say that.
Well,
so, Shelly, Yana, I want to get your thoughts, because what I don't understand is, isn't this already what people do? What circumstance is she talking about where you have to create a space where you have to say white people cannot come around black people? We generally kind of go, congregate towards people, generally, but what space is this? What is this?
I know exactly what she's talking about.
Okay, what is she talking about?
Because I have a personal experience with affinity groups where I was forced into one.
Oh, right. Share that, please.
Right. So this was back in 2012. Yes, it was 20. No, I'm sorry. No. When was that? When Trump won the first.
15.
Okay, was it 15?
Yeah, I think 16.
Okay, so yes. So back then, I was not political. I was not paying attention to what is going on out there. I was living just as I guess like a free spirit. I considered myself, a liberal person because I believed in all kinds of freedoms, and you can associate with anybody you want. I did not gravitate towards, someone who's Russian or who is white. My friends were from all over the world and from America as well. And there I come to a meeting at work where I just recently got the position, and the boss, who is a white lady, says, oh, okay, well, now we're doing these affinity groups at our company. I'm like, okay, what is that? Well, it's where we separate and we talk about our issues. And we separate in this organization, we have two groups, women of color and those who who identify as white. My jaw dropped. I'm like, what? I came to this country, I learned about all the segregation and all the horrible things that were happening, and I was thinking of myself as, I'm never gonna be participating in stuff like that. And then I'm in this organization who is very they were promoting all kinds of this was an education consultancy serving primarily African American children. And so there they telling me that now we're going to separate, and the white women are going to get up and go into another room, and they're going to talk over there about how I don't know, privileged they are, and then the darker people are going to be in this room, and they're going to talk about I don't know, their issues. So it was really interesting because I did not go with the white women. First of all, I was so busy. I was in the middle of work. I was with my computer, and the second she said that, I lift up my head and the white women are gone. So I'm sitting there with all the others who stayed in the room. So I told them I don't know, I don't know where, this is weird. So they couldn't at that moment they couldn't tell me to okay, you gotta go there. So I stayed, and it was really strange conversation that I heard, and that in that group, all about like.
Wait, so what did they tell you? You just stayed, or they said you?
I stayed because, well, the ladies who stayed, who were the women of color, I mean, we had a good relationship. Like I never had issues with them, and they were nice to me, and we talked, and but the lady who was the boss, she was a white lady, so she was in another room. And then the next day, she asked to meet with me in a coffee shop to explain to me how I belong in the white group.
So wait, so you stayed with the people of color,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next day, what'd she say? Like, how'd she come across it to you then?
She asked me to talk to her privately, and she was explaining that this is done so the women of color need to feel safe. And I said, well, do I make them feel unsafe? So she said, well, they have to feel. She said, I don't know, but they have to feel safe. And that I was trying to say, like, well, I'm an immigrant, like, I mean, I don't know where exactly I belong. And she was trying to also kind of like bring up her identities, that she has some other identity, but then she's a white woman. And she was saying that we have privilege. That I'm like, well, but I'm an immigrant, I speak differently. And they're like, well, but when people look at you, like, you get privilege. So she was telling me all these things. And so I just listened to her, but the job itself, I didn't like the job itself. And I actually told them like a few weeks later that I wasn't going to stay. And I did stay like for a period of time to finish some project, but then I never attended those meetings again. I said, well, I'm leaving, so I'm not going to attend them anymore.
Well, what you just experienced is something that that DiAngelo talks about in her book.
I think they like directly took it from her. Like the lady who was the boss, like she read the book, and I think she might even had a speaker come in and like teach them these things.
Yeah, she does that. That's what they were doing with this white fragility book. She actually says, and I quote, "It is white people's responsibility to be less fragile. People of color don't need to twist themselves into knots trying to navigate us as painlessly as possible." So in that situation, according to her book, you were acting as the person, white person, or somebody who looks white, that you couldn't understand that you're not supposed to be with these people of color.
She was the oppressor in a sense.
Yeah.
I was the oppressor.
So what Robin DiAngelo is doing, or maybe saying or not saying, is that she's really looking at Black people as imbeciles. People, we can't think for ourselves. We need to be tapped on our head and saying, okay, you can go here and I'll go here, so I won't upset you. First of all, I don't know many, or maybe not even any, at least in my inner circle, I don't know Black people who spend that much damn time worried about what white people think. I know.
I know. They don't. I don't. Well, they don't worry about what white people think, but they do hold prejudice against white people, and they are the reason behind everything bad that happens in the world.
So we call that, at least Black people, we call that this plantation mindset, or they want to make white people feel guilty, and then the white people eat that up. The DiAngelo types eat that up. Well, I don't really have to spend too much time with people like that, at least not on purpose. Because when I do say something, I know a few, I have known a few, they get upset, and then, we get the name calling. Oh, you're not Black, and you're bougie, and, you've never had hard times, all of this stuff and foolishness that does nothing. But guess what? These Black people who like this idea of Robin DiAngelo, whatever her name is, coddling them and treating them like babies, then that's why they don't get anywhere. That's why they are in the position where they are, because it starts up here. It's in their mind. I don't give up two hills of beans with Robin DiAngelo. What's his name? Ibrahim Kendi, or however you name it. Whatever. They are as much of a race hustler as Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton.
Well, they'd call you an old Toby.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's one thing when people choose themselves to affiliate with whoever they want to affiliate, but I've read that they're doing these affinity groups in schools.
Oh, yeah.
They're teaching kids to separate into different races, and really that experience when this happened. Prior to that experience, I did not see groups when I would walk into the office, but now they like artificially created groups where, instead of being, we're supposed to be a society going towards equality, and what is this? Like, this is like it's degradation.
It goes against the American experiment, because when you look at countries across the world, they are the ones that are already kind of divided up based off of, ethnicities and things like that. But we in America, we were supposed to be this experiment where people of all shapes, sizes, and colors and backgrounds come together with a common goal, of America. But now it's kind of backwards. Again, we go back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show. It's crazy town. Everything's topsy-turvy, where now, instead of us, gravitating and loving that idea, they want to segregate us. They want to separate us. They want to, you look like this, so you're in this box, and you need to talk with these people, and you need to talk.
They want to perpetuate the stereotypes, the anger, whatever is left over, because these women, really, I stayed in that group and they were like trying to think of ways of how to complain about their experience. Like, so this is on a bi-weekly basis. They have to sit around and think about how they're being discriminated. Like, they really were like, trying to like come up with ways, what else can I say?
There's an old saying that misery loves company. There's an old saying that misery loves company, and these people, they want you to be in a group so that, again, they can flush all of this crazy stuff down. Where, as opposed to the American ideal, you are an individual first. And the American ideal was based on the Judeo-Christian values that each individual was created as a unique being in the image of God, not as part of a group, not as part of some collective, some Borg collective like on Star Trek. So they hate the idea that you will stand, whether as a Black person or a white person, but certainly not a Black person, that you will stand on your freedom as an individual created in the image of God, not in the image of some designated, segregated collective that they have determined is where you belong.
And then if you have to be in a group and come up with ways you are discriminated against, then you got too much time on your hands, especially at your job. I mean, I don't have to sit and think, wonder how are they discriminating against me? If I'm being discriminated, it's obvious. You say it, you go to the management or what have you. There's generally channels that you can, go about talking about this discrimination. You don't have to make time. This is why America is on a course to be behind. You have people on the job creating time to complain or try to come up with brainstorming about discrimination. There should have been the brainstorming about whatever the company was supposed to be doing to the reason why they're being there and getting paid. It's ridiculous. She has here another comment. People of color may also, this is right, DiAngelo, I keep forgetting her first name. Robin DiAngelo. Yeah. She says, people of color may also hold prejudice and discriminate against white people, but they lack the social and institutional power that transforms their prejudice and discrimination into racism. The impact of their prejudice on whites is temporary and contextual. So she's saying, really, Black people may be prejudiced or discriminate, but they don't have any power, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. Same thing. It's the remake of the old trope that Black people can't be racist. That's just a rewording of that simple statement that Black people can't be racist, which we know is a lie. Any human being can. And again, Robin DiAngelo types in herself, they want to pacify and coddle and treat Black people in particular as if they are imbeciles. And people like us won't stand for it. So she would never come up and talk with us. She would never come up and talk with us.
Yeah, no, she wouldn't. No, she wouldn't. And I mean, is she championing Jim Crow? Is that the way?
Yeah. I mean, that's racist. Everything that woman is saying, what these people are doing with this is so. I mean, I was blown away. I talked to my friends after that who were liberal and not white women, and they were blown away. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I think generally people do see that this is wrong. So I don't know how this is being pushed everywhere in different organizations.
Yeah, how about just give people free time and let them go wherever they want?
Right.
If
Exactly.
you want to do this, say, hey guys, this is time where you can congregate together, or you can be on your own, where whomever you choose to be with. This is time what you can do. I mean, they create an idea, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, where white people are, and again, this goes back to what Scott Adams said. Where it's like they're saying they're creating an idea where white people are intruding on black people. Like, if you don't want to be bothered, just say it. Hey, it's not about the color, the skin color. Just tell somebody you don't want to be bothered. I don't understand why they feel that you have to, just come up with this idea of this. Sometimes I don't want to be bothered with black people.
Exactly.
I don't want to be bothered with black people all the time.
Right. Because telling people, like you said, KJ, just telling people I don't feel like it today, I don't want to be bothered, that doesn't get you money. You can't race hustle with that. That's just too direct. It's done and over with. But when you race hustle like Jackson and Sharpton and DiAngelo and Kendi or whatever his name is, you can collect the bills. You can collect the dollar bills and off of that. You can shake down the corporations. You can write the books, and then more white people will feel guilty, and the black people will feel, oh, I'm going to make them give me something. They owe me my 40 acres and a mule. So you got that. It's lucrative. You can get money from it. That's what it is. You can't do that by just being direct with people.
Yeah, and again, it goes against what America is about. I mean, a lot of times, sometimes I want to be around people who aren't like me, who think differently, who have different experiences. This is how we grow. This is what's supposed to be the great thing about America, where I can go, drive 20 minutes away and get a totally different experience, where I may go to an area where people only speak Spanish, and their food and their the way they act and the way they live is different. I can experience that. Look at Yana. I know more about Russia, which she's totally changed my thinking about Russia, because I wasn't really favorable about Russia a long time ago. But my God, this is how we grow. This is how we become better people, honestly. Because
and if there are issues, you got to talk about them. That it doesn't help if you separate people and then they just fester in their little groups. Like that actually, when you study like conflict analysis, that's actually how you create a conflict. You can artificially create a conflict by separating people by whatever characteristic you pick. You can put a different pin on them and then separate them, and then by the end of the day they hate each other.
I'll tell you what I want. I want to get a bunker right next to Robin DiAngelo with my guns and my perimeters all labeled out, and just stand out there and see how she would like that. I'm a black woman. Let's see how she would like that. I want to do that. I would love to do that. And Sunni Hostin on the other side.
Oh, yeah. Well, we will continue to follow that. Let's see if she loses her. Let's see if she loses her job or speaking engagements. I mean, she literally said the same thing Scott Adams said. She told white people to leave black people alone. She said it, and nobody's saying anything about it. It's nothing. It's nothing. And again, we live in crazy town. One person says something, it's awful. Another person says the same thing, and it's okay. So we will continue to follow that and see where this goes. She said some other comments on that panel that were pretty disturbing. She says, in 2023, we have to see the ability to engage in these conversations with some nuance and some skill as a basic qualification. And if you can't do that, you're just simply not qualified in today's workplace.
Right.
So this was a panel on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Once again,
Translation, DEI is going to be the standard. So if you can't speak the DEI language and you don't know all the verbiage and the rewritten and the rewording, then you're not qualified. So this is their cover for the white people and even some black people who are caught up into this, saying, oh, you're not qualified, little black person or little white person, because you don't speak the same language. So this is basically another, I guess, standard that they're going to use. It's basically a modern day poll tax.
Well, they did it to that black professor. There was a black professor. I can't remember what school she taught at, but they had a speaker coming in, and
De Anza College in California.
Oh, right. Yes, it was in California. And she was a black woman that was hired. I can't really remember what subject she was teaching. I think it was like history or something. Was it?
She was a student or something, a faculty director or whatever. But she was charged with helping students, coordinate events or whatever activities, and giving them a framework to have an idea when they were opposing sides to come together on points of agreement. Right. Basically, how to have a constructive discourse.
Yes, and she was fired because she didn't toe the line of the woke mentality. Yep. She wouldn't push people to. It was centered around someone that came in, some big person that was woke. Some woke.
Alicia Garza from BLM.
Right. And they wanted to ask her questions that basically pushed against this BLM woke mentality, and the speaker didn't want to do it, and she allowed the teachers, this woman, to ask these questions, and she got into trouble behind it.
And Marxists, they have their own language. So they have a terminology, they come up with their own language, and that's what it is. Like, this is, again, a direct result of Marxism. These women, this woman, I'm sure she read Marxist literature, I'm sure she agrees, and she wants to change the world. So these people are mobilized, they're active, and they've been doing this for many, many years. They have affected many organizations, many companies. So they're dangerous, really, for society.
Yeah. And I challenge parents to really look into who these consulting firms, specifically the private schools that they hire. A lot of them are born and raised in DEI and this woke mentality, and they're pushing it on private schools and getting them to incorporate it in their curriculum. And it's causing real havoc. It really is. All right. Well, we are at the end of our show, ladies, end of our time. Any last thoughts for the audience before we go? I'll start with you, Yana. Anything you want to leave the audience about what we discussed tonight? Any final themes?
Enjoy the spring.
Yeah.
It's nice out, finally.
Yes, indeed. What about you, Shelley? Any final thoughts?
For Sunni Hostin, it's called Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. And for the Robin DiAngelo types, I'm getting a bunker and I got some guns and I'm coming to live in your neighborhood.
Okay. All right. Well, again, that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Continue the conversation by checking us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and subscribe. That way you get up-to-the-minute content when we post, and we appreciate the support. If you like us, if you like what you see, you like what you hear, subscribe and hit that notifications bell. We are an independent media, and each time you subscribe, it helps make our voice that much stronger. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. Check us out on our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com. We look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.